Courtney Kearney, founder and owner of CKearney Consulting. We are a CRM and data management consulting firm, and so excited to facilitate these conversations and have great guest speakers on, like Brandy is today. She's going to be talking about how she made data fun for Layton Construction. So excited to have this discussion. And if you would like to be a guest speaker in 2022, I cannot believe we're already planning for 2022, but we are. And if you would like to be a guest speaker, we would love to have you and be able to showcase you and your firm and the fun things that you're doing with CRM and or data. Brandy, as people go around, would you like them to share anything specific in their intro?
If you want, you can bring up any specific data challenges that you've had, or if there's any issues with receptivity with your team. And if you have had any issues with that, very specifically, people may be adopting or gathering data, just feel free to bring it up and I'll try to address it as I talk about a few things that we've done at Layton that have really worked.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So we'll go in the order that I see you in. So hopefully I don't skip anybody. Although I tend to at least skip one person, but Zoom bounces around on me, dadgummit. So as we go through, if you'll say your name, your firm, your role in your firm, and then where you're at geographically, we have people that call in from all over. So it's always fun to know where people are calling in from. Sarah, it looks like you're out in like a wooded area, which is super fun. But wherever you are calling in from, if you'll share that as well. And then if you had any data adoption issues or pushback, we would love to hear that too. And in my intro, I left out where I was calling in from. I'm in North Texas in the Denton area. That is where I'm calling in from. All right, we'll go Sarah and then Stacy.
Yeah, I had to real quick change my background because I am not in a forest wooded area. I actually live in the desert. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, but I am Sarah Libby and I work for SWCA Environmental Consultants. And what data management challenges don't we have? At present and top of mind are essentially making sure that, because we keep our system open to all, I have folks fighting me on that at the moment because we're having challenges with people entering client information that isn't correct and is duplicative. And we do QC on my team, but it's getting to be too much for us. So how do we keep our clients and contact information as up to date as possible? And projects are a whole nother game, but yeah, we've got challenges there as well, just revisiting project data and making sure that marketing has all the information it needs. So anything and everything are our challenges.
I guess I'll go next. Stacy Ho. I am starting a brand new job at OTAC. Yay, this is why I'm back to this forum. Yay. My role is CRM and market analyst, manager, data manager for OTAC, brand new position. We are making our transition from Vision to Vantage Point this weekend. Don't ask. I came on way too late. Let's just say that much. So my challenges are numerous, but the top of the list for me right now is ownership of data and getting people to make decisions about who actually owns the data in a very kumbaya type of a firm, as I would say. I am sitting in the rainy, dark Portland, Oregon. So it's just why my background is just nothing. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at right now.
Awesome. We're excited to have you back, Stacy.
Thank you. I'm excited.
It's great to have you in your new role for sure. All right, we'll go Amber and then Carissa.
Hi, I'm Amber Emily. I work at Carl Sanderson Construction Company. We're a general construction company out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So it's kind of rainy here today too, but at least it's not snow. I work in a group of us kind of manage our CRM and our business development teams. So data is always first and foremost on our mind. There's always room to improve. I think we've gotten better over the years, But just getting, especially on the project end, making sure we get, components and everything correct and different things is our current challenge. But I think data, in general, there's always a lot of different challenges that you come up with. So I'm curious to see what you have here.
I'm Carissa Blackman. I'm a project manager with CKearney Consulting, and I'm also in North Texas in McKinney outside of Dallas. And we're just excited to have the cooler weather after, hot Texas summers. So I'm enjoying it. Not ready for any snow, but enjoying that. And I work with a lot of different clients for their CRM systems. And so I think I've pretty much heard everything, just user adoption in general. Every person is different, every team is different. And so I don't have any specific, but definitely an area that all of us, I'm sure, have issues with. So.
Absolutely. And everybody, this is Carissa's last day at CKC. So if you know of anybody who would like to be a part-time communication and marketing specialist for CKC, the position will be open as of tomorrow. Well, we're interviewing now, but it's vacated as of tomorrow. All right, we will go Karen and then Jill.
Hi, I'm going to keep my video off because it seems to bog everything down when I have it on. So I'm Karen Cotton. I'm the knowledge manager and CRM system administrator at HIT Contracting, which is a national general contractor. We use Microsoft Dynamics, and I am located in Northern Virginia outside of Washington, D.C. Our biggest data challenge probably right now is just getting people to do data entry. There's a lot of resistance to sitting at a computer and typing info into our CRM. So if you have any suggestions on how to motivate people to do that, I am all ears.
I am Jill Aronson. I work at HR Green. I'm a marketing coordinator, and I am located in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I can't think of anything specific. I think we're always just kind of dealing with maintaining data integrity and getting technical staff comfortable enough to get into the database and make their updates.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for introducing yourself and sharing any of your data specific needs or concerns. And I will turn it over to Brandy Wilkins, and I have dropped her LinkedIn profile link into the chat window if you want to connect with her as well. And I will also do a shameless plug and also put our job opening into the chat window. So if you want to pass it around to anybody that you know, Stacy, I have an interview with the person that you suggested tomorrow. So thank you for your recommendation. Brandy, it is all yours.
Thank you, Courtney. And thank you for all the intros and sharing some of where your difficulties have been in collecting data or in encouraging people to collect data. And so I'm hoping that I'll be able to maybe give a couple of ideas or things that I've done at Layton that have helped out. A teeny background about me before I jump into the presentation. My name is Brandy Wilkins. I work at Layton Construction, and I am based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. But we've got facilities all over the place. And I will say, in terms of I work at Layton Construction, that's almost like a guarded statement because Layton is also part of a much larger organization. Pronunciation, it'll get you every time. But it's part of a much larger organization. And so I've set up Layton in one particular way, but within the larger organization, we're actually setting things up in a different kind of way. So the information I'm going to show you is relevant to Layton and what I've done at Layton that has worked. But the larger organization that we're part of, we've done an entirely different strategy. So at Layton, just to kind of give you a little bit of background with what our structure is like there, and then I'll introduce you to kind of the structure at the other organization, just so you have that background information. At Layton, I've got a data team. I won't lie, I'm extremely spoiled in that respect. So I've got kind of a right-hand person, and then I've got, excuse me, is it 2 or is it 3? I've got 2 interns, and I'll have an intern position opening up in January that I'm sure it will, I'm not going to put another plug out here for any kind of intern position, But I mean, if you know of somebody that is interested in an intern position, also part-time, you're welcome to drop them in the chat, but that's not the point of this. I do have 2 interns though currently working for me that have very specific functions. So at Layton, what I found works very well is basically parceling out the functions within the database. So one person does mostly what I need done with the personnel records. One person does what I need done with photography. One person does what I need done with projects. And then my new position that's opening up is going to help support actually I have 2 intern positions opening up next year, I forgot. One of them is because I'm going on leave, so I want my main person to be supported. I'm going on leave because I'm currently expecting my first child. So if I accidentally hiccup while I'm speaking or something, please excuse it. It does happen sometimes. It's super embarrassing, and it always happens like at the worst time. So please forgive me if that happens. But I have 2 intern positions opening up, and they're mainly just to support people while I go on leave, because I'll be doing that to take care of my new child. So that's kind of the structure of the data team at Layton, and people have different pieces of what they do. I've also got people that are kind of outsourced. There are other functions within the marketing team, but for example, I've got one person who he's mainly our head writer. And so I have him in charge of doing all of the project sheets. And everything that I do in CoSential is not only done in CoSential, as in like the person that does the project sheets uploads the project sheets into CoSential, but there's workflows that support what's going on. So there's ways that we categorize projects when they come in as, does this person need to write a project sheet, or does this person not need to write a project sheet? Or maybe did somebody else need a project sheet desperately, as we know happens, and so they wrote one up really quickly, but we still need our head writer to review it and make sure that it's in the right voice. So we've got different ways of categorizing that information so he can use reports and widgets on his own dashboard to make sure that he's taking from whatever he needs to take from, and we can prioritize projects by what needs to be written a little bit more sooner. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm sorry, bad grammar, but it happened. But whatever needs to be done more urgently, versus maybe things that can stay on the back burner a little bit, versus maybe projects that don't require any kind of project sheet at all whatsoever. So we've got all of that tracked in CoSential, and then we track what he's done. So once he uploads a project sheet description, that's something that will trigger a workflow for somebody on my team to go ahead and set up the project sheet. So everybody has kind of a smaller function. And I found at Layton that works really, really, really well, because in some cases, what I find to be very difficult when it comes to data adoption is when people are like, oh, I've got to get in the system and do what? I have to do clients and companies, and I have to do projects, and I have to do personnel, and I have to do this, and then projects have project sheets, and they've got resume descriptions, and I have to set all of this up. People get really intimidated by the amount of work that takes place. But if you say, no, you've just got this one function, and this will tell you when you need to do it, this will help you prioritize it, and then when you finish it, you need to make sure you do this part. And sometimes that's the tricky part, I will say, because sometimes people will forget that critical function. But you have to do this one part, and then it will workflow over to the person that's responsible for the next stage. So I found that to be helpful, whether you're spoiled like I am at Layton and you have a full data team, which one caveat to is I have not always been this spoiled at Layton. I only barely got the argument for my data team starting in April of this year. So the data team part is very, very, very new. And prior to that, it was a one-person show. And so I get the challenges that are even associated with being a one-person show very much. To digress, the way that the CoSential environment is at our parent organization, the one that we're also, or that I am also setting up, I should say, so basically Layton is a part of now 13. We recently brought someone else new on board, but we're basically an organization of 13 other construction companies who also are looking to adopt CoSential. And in this environment, we have this open to multiple people on the marketing team. Multiple people are entering in data, and multiple people are, there's a lot of moving parts. And so again, I found if you help people to kind of bite things off into small pieces, and I'll even give you a little bit of a cheat to what I have found works best, but if you help them bite things off into small pieces and you find ways to enable their information collection, it becomes a lot easier for people to make sure that the information lines up in the correct place. And I will get into that a little bit more later, I promise. But one way that I've started in terms of breaking down things into bite-sized pieces of information is you can look at things in terms of modules. Like, I want to start with X module because I feel like it's going to be the most beneficial. The one that I found to be extremely beneficial is you start with projects. Projects can usually be a bit larger. I know sometimes you go to different schools of thought. Sometimes people think starting off with personnel is a little bit better, but personnel I find to be more limited use. When you're looking at a marketing team, you can really kind of slam down a show when you've got people starting in the projects module. And so that's the one that I found to be best. Plus, if you get people very familiar with the projects module, then when it comes time to associate personnel to project records, those are already extremely robust and taken care of. So then you can get right into resumes once you start associating people. So that's kind of the order that I've taken there. And then when it comes to doing the owners and companies on that side for the STOBG side of things, when we do owners and companies, right now, I actually have that extremely closed down. So although there's many people with read-write licenses, I have not trained very many people on how to add in owners and companies, because I find that when you do that, it turns into a mess. Like, there's people that associate to one company, they don't associate the parent organization, so then you have the duplicate. It really gets kind of messy. So I've got one intern on that side and then myself, and I will actually be expanding to my first person on the marketing team in the next month or so that will be working with the companies and with companies and contacts. So it's just been that's been a close-knit thing to try and avoid a lot of that data cleanup, because I understand that turns into quite a mess. And then I apologize for being really long-winded, but that kind of gives you an idea of the structure. I promise I don't have that many slides, so I had to take it up here. Just kidding. But that gives you an idea of the structure. So I'm familiar with kind of either one of them. And what I'm going to show you, again, even though it's applicable to Layton, I found it helpful even in using things when you've got people with kind of a group edit, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And let's see, I wanna make sure I share the right one. It's actually presenting, there we go. It's presenting the one that it usually, or presenting from the one that it usually doesn't. And so hopefully you guys should see what I'm going to call the data campaign over at Layton. And so we're a little bit spoiled at Layton too, in that we have a fairly robust graphics team. So with the data campaign, to make it a little bit more fun, obviously it was the introduction of some process and some tools that will help people, but obviously in a way too, it creates a little bit more work. So sometimes people get a little like, ooh, about things. One fun thing, and you don't have to do it to this extent, but one fun thing that we did at Layton is we recruited a graphic designer, and we kind of gave this its own voice. And then we created a media kit for our team. I'm like, wait a minute, let me make sure I hold this up the right way. I almost did it upside down. So we've got a media kit. And within the media kit, it is completely tailored to my voice. So I am a huge Star Wars fan. So it 100% is Data Wars. It is totally branded like to my absolute nerdy personality, and it's a dream. We came up with all kinds of things, like there's an interactive pullout, but even if you were to just take one thing away from this, like you're trying to encourage people to do things, well, they're always looking at their computer. And I have found that people have loved having just a sticker that they can have on their computer. And ours is just like an old Mac format, but it says message your data team. So to make sure that people are messaging us the information on the Layton side, because I have a data team that processes this information and they're not doing the updates on their own. So they're on the one structure where I've got the data team. I found that to be really helpful because I had people that were forgetting to message us. So we've got this whole kit that we put together. It doesn't even have to be a whole kit. If I were to recommend one takeaway, I would say do the sticker. The sticker has been awesome. But we do also have, and I want to make sure I open this up right, we do have a super fun comic book style. And this is an infographic. So it basically tells you like, this is how the information works. And we tried to make it fun because this is something that people would hang up at their desk, or they would, it's not something that's just like a Word document or whatever. And it kind of gets to the point where when you have that visual association, especially in adult learning, when you create a visual association, you almost don't even need to see the words anymore. Like we know when we see green, if we see a green light, we know that it means go. Somebody doesn't need to tell us, oh, this means go. So just having that visual association of, oh yeah, I've got that right there. Same thing as the sticker, anything to kind of bring them back and create that ability to unite with whatever your process is huge. So we put together this kit, and then of course we put it together in like presentation format, because we started off with our marketing team, and we know that the bar is set high with any marketing team. They're so creative. They're so smart, and they're just, if you don't give them something beautiful, you're probably, I don't want to say they're just going to laugh at you, but there's definitely a high bar. You've got a lot to impress there. I'm going to swap over to my next slide. Hopefully, there we go. Like PowerPoint, don't do this to me right now. Today's not the day. I got a little nervous for a second because it was not listening. But these are a couple of the slides that I use. Some of them are modified just to make sure that I'm not, showing too much proprietary information. But if you have more detailed questions, there will obviously be a Q&A at the end of this section. And also, I would encourage you, you are welcome to reach out to me. You're welcome to email me. I'm happy to try and share as much as I can, obviously with the respect that we work at different organizations, but I'm happy to do what I can to help out. So this is the first slide that we put, actually this might have been the second slide that we put into our original presentation, but oh well, who's counting? But we wanted to just have a little bit of an introduction for it. So we used this to introduce our team as to what it is. And of course, one of the big things that we have to remember if we're introducing any process is you have to say what it is, and then you have to say who it's for. But when you're speaking to them when you're speaking to them, you have to remember that you have to tell it to them in a way that makes it important to them. So why would they need it? Why is it important? Why is doing things the way that I'm about to show you going to make your life easier? Because yes, we're adding in a little bit more process. Yes, we are. There's a little bit more that you kind of have to do. It's not a whole lot. It's a little bit more though. So that's why we even have the end goal here, which is ultimately to create a data-driven culture at Layton, so that we have not just people in the marketing team emailing us these updates, but we pass that out to the BD team. My end goal, if I can get a VP to email me an information update, like that's going to be my lottery day. So that's kind of my litmus test of true success. But branching it out past the marketing team is also a huge goal for us. So we had to introduce it to them. We couldn't just jump into it. And then we have, what I'm going to show you is there's two facets of the data campaign. One of them is the personnel information collection. And this is a current process that we have, and we've got a Word document. I will say that one thing I've considered, and I'm experimenting with it, so check back with me on this later if this is something of interest to you, because I've successfully done it, but I haven't done it in a way where I like how the permissions are working and how I don't like the review process on it. But currently I have a Word document that we send out to any new hire within 2 weeks of new hire, and that is tracked in CoCentral as well. So there's an email alert that goes out to make sure that we've actually sent this out to somebody within 2 weeks of their hire. If we haven't, then we know that we need to get that done. And then on top of it, their status is also tracked in CoCentral for the marketing team to be able to view. So the marketing team can then look at it and say, either I know they need to have the marketing information request sent, or I know that they've had the marketing information request sent, but it hasn't been received yet. And I can tell that it was sent on this day. So I'm going to tell them, hey, we need you guys to pay attention to this. We need you guys to get this back to us. And I'm not going to get too much into the details of what we include on this. Yes, it really is 5 pages, but I'm going to get into the detail a little bit about what's included on it on the next slide. So I have to get past there. And true to form, much like my media kit that I gave to the marketing team, everything is in terms of that personality. And so that's one thing too, is don't be afraid to have your personality come out with this. Like, I'm a huge outdoor nerd. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. People know that. And it's fine to have your personality trickle out on this. And I find that that's almost one of the things that helps with the buy-in, is letting a little of your personality come out, because all of a sudden it's no longer just a sterile database. It becomes funny, or it becomes something memorable. Like, people have not forgotten this presentation. People still talk about it and they're like, remember how you said Jabba the Hutt was a reference or something like that? I mean, it's really funny. So these are some of the things that we collect in our marketing information request. Again, this is what goes out within, and I take it back, I'm gonna correct myself a little bit. It's within 2 weeks of hire, or it's within 2 weeks of a promotion if somebody's promoted to what we categorize as a technical position. I'm sorry I left that off before, but that's also another important one to make sure we designate. And the other thing too is you do not have to send this out to everybody. We don't send it out to everybody. We only send it to people that we consider of a technical designation. And I know that's going to vary between organizations, but my kind of rule or general rule is that you send it out to people that you know you're going to need a resume for. So whatever the positions are in your company, and I know some of them are kind of lateral, like we all probably have VPs, we probably all have marketing people, but then some things get a little bit fuzzy. We probably all have superintendents and project managers, but people call things different titles. So I don't want to get into like what titles we do this for. Just general rule is if you need a resume for that title, generally speaking, that's who you're sending this to. So we include things like their name or their preferred name. We include a confirmation of their title. We include what their home office is, because at Layton, we've literally got locations all throughout the United States. And so we like to track what their home office is, because then we know what time zone they're in. So if we need to reach out to them, we know whether or not it's likely to expect a response today or tomorrow, or if we shouldn't worry about things like we've got people in Hawaii and they're 4 hours behind us. So if I try calling someone at 9 o'clock in the morning here, I get not a very happy aloha. So it's just to kind of help us out. And it also is meant to be, sometimes you're asked questions when you have multiple office locations. You get the good old question of, well, how many people are in this office, and how many people are in this office, and how many people are in this office? So it helps you speak to that as well. So kind of your general, I call them like laundry proposal questions, because it's not really proposal, it's not really personnel, it's not like your showcasey show off stuff. It's literally like the laundry. It's your blasé questions about the organization that always seems to change, but it's helpful to be able to just look at it and have a number. We confirm their years of experience in the construction industry, or we ask them what year they started in the construction industry. We get the education details. We get a confirmation of their certifications and registrations, memberships and affiliations. We ask for some bio information, and we don't necessarily ask them to write a bio. I will say that this is something kind of a little lesson learned for me. If you ask them to write a bio, you get garbage a lot of the time. Not a lot of people are very skilled writers. Usually your marketing team are your best writers. And so if you ask for bio information, you're not going to get a very standard format. So I provide a sample in our marketing information request, and then I ask for them to give me like 5 bullet points. Sometimes they will, and people have surprised me. They have impressed me. So I don't want to try and like sound like I'm attacking anybody here, but sometimes people will write. In fact, I had somebody that wrote me an extremely well-written bio, and I actually had to call him and be like, I have never had someone write a bio that well, ever. And he's like, my mom's an English teacher. And I'm all, oh, well, that's not a surprise. So sometimes you'll get something like that where someone will put something together very well. I found that asking for like 5 bullet points, and then even asking some encouraging questions like, tell me about your most showcasey project, or what was your most challenging construction experience, or what got you started in construction? And that's a big one, because that's really great for bio information. Like, why did you decide to do what you wanted to do? Do you have a family legacy of construction? Did you drive by construction sites and love the tractors? Did you go to a cool building one day? And tell me what that building was. So I asked for some of their back history on it, like, why did you get into construction? And then just as a follow-up on that, sometimes I'll even say, if, and this is a big one that you have to caveat, but if you're comfortable with it, tell me about some of your personal hobbies. Don't tell me about anything that you wouldn't want me to include in a resume bio, because sometimes that one, people get a little touchy about sharing personal stuff. But if they're comfortable with it, do you like hiking? Do you like outdoorsy things? Are you a comic book nerd? Like, tell me something interesting and unique about you so I can put together a really cool bio for you. At Layton, we also collect their professional references, which we then store in CoCentral, and then we track with review dates and everything. So we know whether those references are good. We track when they gave them to us. So if somebody needs to pull a professional reference, it's no longer that scramble of like, oh my gosh, I need you to send me 3 references and I need you to do it now. We have them in the system and we can say, hey, you sent us, you know, Jim, Bill, and Bob, and you sent them to us on May 10th of 2021. Are these still good? And so we're not doing that crazy scramble anymore. Our team loves that one, loves it. And then we ask for previous project history too, which we lay out in the information that we found to be relevant. So the stuff that we like to show on our resume for previous project history, we keep that, how's the word I want to put it? We keep it pretty categorized. So we lay out the questions that we want in terms of what we want from previous project history, so that it's just a matter of asking questions and answering them. The other thing I like about having a form like this, and I'm only going to digress slightly, is that everything's matched up to what we have in our database. So we use Cosential, but other people use other types of databases. So whatever your field names are, make them associate to this, because that makes this a lot easier to just pass through to somebody else to enter in information too, because they know where this information goes if it matches the field. That's another thing that I found to be very pivotal in I've had multiple interns and interns kind of, they come and go. But I've had to train multiple interns, and that's one thing that's been a game changer, is because I have things lined up to exactly where they go, they know where the information needs to go. And sometimes they're like, oh, this person, you know, gave me something kind of weird, and they can ask you about it, whatever it is. I had one person ask me the other day, somebody put in the total square footage for a previous project as 4 mm. And we joked because we're like, did they mean 4 millimeters? Is that a car manufacturing facility for amps? Like, we had a good laugh about it, but you'll get weird things still that they need to ask you about. But generally speaking, they know where everything is going to go. And then this is kind of a little cheat. I don't know if I can't show you everything about this, but this is probably something that I would reserve more for like a private Q&A kind of thing. But we do track this information in the training, over here in the training section. And yes, this is the older view for Cosential, because since I made this slide, they literally have launched like a whole new interface. So this is the good old days. Remember when?
Remember when?
I know, I'm getting close. I'm so sorry. If I need to shut up, I'm happy to. I just noticed the time, so I'll go quick through these other couple of slides. But we track it there, and that's how we keep things on like a good rotation too, because we've got reports that not only track the status of things, but they track when they last did a resume review, so we can make sure that the resume review, which generally is pertinent to like certifications or additional education stuff, that's where we make sure all that information is good. We also have a project info sheet that is similar to the project or the marketing information request, excuse me. This one we've processed out, and we're implementing some new process on it. The cool thing about this one, and I'm just going to get right into kind of the info we collect, because I know that's what y'all are going to want to see. But the cool thing about this form is it's not just a Word form that we send out at any point in time. It's a Word form that we've templated into Cosential. So we then publish the information we have about the project, and then we send it to somebody. And so that way they're verifying what's in Cosential on top of giving us any missing pieces of information. And I've had better luck with that as opposed to sending them a blank Word doc, because if I send them a blank Word doc, we kind of enter into the territory of, well, what are you guys actually storing? Or why do you guys always ask me the same questions? Or why are you X, Y, and Z? But if you show, hey, I've actually got information on this project, it really seems to kind of soften the personalities a little. And so we get, you know, basic project info stuff on things. I'm going to pass on. We track this on the project summary screen too. I've actually added on a field, but we track the date that we sent it, and we track who we sent it to, again, so our team knows and they can follow up on that. And then that takes me to the end. Sorry if that got really quick and fire hosey. Again, feel free to reach out to me if you've got any questions on this. It was actually a super fun project with my team, and we loved it. And we use this stuff not only on the latent side where people will be sending out or sending out information requests, like we kind of made them our information army in this respect. We use it on the STOBG side too, where we've got people entering in information, because again, because you've got those fields matched up to where they belong, it's a lot easier when you have multiple pieces moving and multiple people entering in information, because they know exactly where everything goes. instead of trying to like struggle through it on their hire resume and try to figure out what pieces match where. So the data integrity is much better when you have that little bit of control.
That's awesome. I know we are over time, but does anybody have any questions briefly or any, Stacey, I love your feedback, of course. I'm loving this, and it's so on brand for you, Brandy. I love that.
I want to know how long it took, because this is like, it's amazing.
We started, so it actually, the longest thing I'll tell you is, and I'm going to take this apart really quick, maybe, my paperclip is stuck. The thing that took the longest, to be honest, was our interactive handout. And it's because the print company kept stinking at it. Like, we couldn't get them to do it right to save our lives. Sorry, I'm taking apart my stuff. And so this is what took the longest of it all, is making this little guy there. Because we made an interactive handout that like has all of the stuff that we collect on it, and literally they wouldn't update us, and then they did it wrong and we had to send it back. So we started working on the actual handout stuff back at the end of July, and then we finally received the handouts in October. But even putting stuff together and even the design phase and everything like that, because it's so on brand to my personality, it just kind of like, it just happened. And so that's why I say, like, you don't need to force the super sterile database stuff. Make it part of your personality and find a way that it links into things, because then it just is so easy. Like coming up with my nerdy examples of like project resumes and stuff like that, it happened so naturally because I'm like I'm like a walking thing of Star Wars trivia. So it was very easy to come up with stuff, but do it to whatever's on brand for you. So whatever is funny to you or works for you, do it that way. And it really didn't take long, and it was such a fun project.
That's awesome. Anyone else have any? Perfect. Well, you guys definitely connect with Brandy on LinkedIn. I've sent her stuff in the chat window. This was really inspiring, and I'm going to share it with my team for sure, because I think that it's even great, like for our examples when we're talking to clients, is, you know, you don't have to always use like Jane Doe or John Doe or whatever. We can.
Nope. I'm so
have
sorry
fun
I
with
went
it.
late too, by the way.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's all good. You're it shows that you love it, that you're excited about it. So I think that is good. You guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you again, Brandy, for sharing and for your passion and for loving data as much as we do, and for sharing with our team. If you would like to be a guest speaker and share anything exciting that's going on with you and your company, please let me know. And we will meet again in December. And you guys have a good rest of your day, and we will talk later.
Thank you.